Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal talk. On Saturday night, CF Montreal played host to Atlanta United, and for the second straight week, second consecutive game, lose at home by a score of 1-0. Is this on the forwards? Is this on the 10s? Is this on the style of play? Rien ne va plus for CF Montreal. They're going to be back at it again on Wednesday night when they visit the Fire in Chicago. We'll break down what happened on Saturday night and try and find a solution to an anemic offense that not only can't score goals, can't create any kinds of offensive chances whatsoever. Jeremy Filosa joins me. He's from 98.5 FM and MFC Radio. I'm Marinaro, the Sick Podcast.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. CF Montreal talk.
Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal talk. We are live. You're watching us on YouTube right now and on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching. Very much appreciated. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and follow us on Twitter at SickPod, CFMTL. Jeremy Filosa joins me. Jeremy, how are you?
How's it going, Tony?
It's going extremely well. Thank you very much. And before we get to the game on Saturday night, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet, but CF Montreal keep looking for offense, and they went to go to Los Angeles to go find it.
Yeah, they got Mahala Opoku. We had a chance to talk to him this morning at training for the first time. Mind you, it was like we had to fight with the club to get to talk to him, but that's another story.
Why? Hold on a second. Don't tell me that's another story. We're live on YouTube and on Twitter right now. There's thousands and thousands. There's millions and millions of people watching us right now.
Make a long story short, we were quite a few reporters this morning at practice, which was great. A lot of the main outlets sent reporters. But when we got there, we were surprised to find out that they didn't have any plans to allow us to speak to Opoku after his first practice. We didn't understand why. So after persistency, they finally brought him out, and we were able to talk to him for 4 to 5 minutes. So that's good. But they said they were going to give him to us probably on Thursday, which we said, yeah, but he'll have played a game by then. Anyways, whatever.
No. This is interesting what you're telling me. They acquired a player several days ago.
Yep.
From Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The player, based on his track record and what he did last year, you would think would come in and be their second biggest offensive threat when everyone's healthy.
Yeah.
Okay. And you wanted to speak to him today, and members of the media did today on Monday.
Well, most media members showed up because they figured we're going to get to talk to him, right?
But they wanted to wait more than a week after he was acquired, or a week after he was acquired, and probably playing in his first game before they make him available.
Exactly. So they're just to let you guys know, there was no Zoom. There was no Zoom at a distance or whatever. This was the first opportunity. And anyways, whatever. So like I said, we after some persistency, we were able to get him today.
But you did some really good work, though, because you were able to get a hold of his agent.
Yes, that's another story for another. I don't know what to tell you. Listen, I spoke to his agent. It was a great interview. Fortunately, somebody was not happy about the fact that his agent spoke. I don't know who. And so as a sign of respect for the person, I removed the interview. But I mean, so someone was not happy that we were talking about this player and trying to get people to know who he is and what he's about.
I'm going to tell you something. I already told you a million times. I'm going to tell you again. This is why you're part of the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. You do great work. You're a professional. You're hungry. You're determined. You're driven. And when they go out and acquire players, You get on the phone right away. You try and track down who the agent is. Then you try and get a hold of the agent. You have the first one to get interviews. You write the articles for the station you work for, 98.5. You end up doing podcasts. And you try and give the fan base as much information as possible.
Yeah.
Which is what you want from a reporter, a member of the media, a journalist. You want them to do some digging. You want them to do some research. You want them to ask good questions. You want them to put out articles. You want them to bring attention. You want them to bring exposure. And you were doing something fantastic for members of the fan base so that they can get to know this player, this agent, the situation, how it went down, this, that, whatever.
So listen,
I'm very disappointed that I got back to you. I'm very disappointed that I got back to your attention, that somebody somewhere was unhappy. And so you, out of respect for the agent, you took down the interview. When the interview, the only one who had it was you. Selfishly, if you wanted to, you could have kept it up. People could have kept on reading it. Would have been great for the station that you work for. Would have been great for the podcast. It would have been great for the fan base. And by the way, I read the article. It was great for the club. It was great for the club.
Extremely positive. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know who called where, what. I have no idea. Not able to get in, but I'm just disappointed for the fans that we get something like that, and we're not able to keep it up because, as of respect for the person, for the agent, or whatever, there was greater information in there. It was all positive, but yeah, it's Tony. I gotta say, it's turns me upside down. Turns me upside down, and it's hard. It's hard. It doesn't encourage us to want to try and keep working hard. That's all I can say.
Yeah, no, of course it turns you upside down because once again, you worked harder than everybody else. You worked smarter than everybody else. You got on the phone, you did some work. And by the time you got all the information and you wrote the article, it's hours and hours of your time, and you did it for the fan base, and it's gone. It's been removed. It's unfortunate. All right, okay.
So listen, to talk about this acquisition,
yes.
I was in LA just a few weeks ago because I was doing the LAFC game on Apple TV, and of course, Opoku is a player that a lot of people in MLS believe in. Brian Schmetzer, who I had a chance to speak to, head coach of the Seattle Sounders this weekend. Also, Vanni Sartini, head coach of Vancouver, both said they thought at Montreal it was a great acquisition. Obviously, Opoku was behind Dennis Bouanga. He was also behind Carlos Vela, so not getting a lot of playing time. He said this morning that this was an advancement for him in his career. From what I understand, Tony, the plan, more or less, is to stick around for about a year and a half, okay? His contract ends at the end of this year. He's got an option for next year. So I think this kid sees himself in Europe maybe in a year and a half from now. That would put us at the end of next season. At this moment, there is no offer on the table to extend his contract or give him a new contract. Those talks might happen soon. We'll see. I'm sure Montreal doesn't want to take a chance of losing him for nothing at the end of next year. If they don't have a contract with him, we'll see what happens there. But it's a
perfect fit, though, because this is the kind of club that wants to get young players like this, keep them for about a year and a half, play them, develop them, showcase them, bring up their value, and sell them.
Exactly. So he checks a lot of boxes, meaning, first of all, his salary is very reasonable, under $300,000. That's the first thing. Second of all, he has potential. We know that. Third of all, from what we understand, LAFC does not retain any percentage on resale. So if this guy does well, and he'll get every opportunity, that, to play, to score, to look good, and then potentially maybe resell him at the end of next season, maybe at the end of 2024. So I think he's a candidate that's perfect for them. And, this mechanism they have, Tony, where they buy players with allocation money, they play them, they sell them to European teams for over $1 million, meaning they get the extra GAM money at the end of the year. It works out great because Saputo gets to put the cash in his pockets. They get to have allocation money to spend in the league, which gives them power of negotiation, which you saw there. LAFC didn't want to get rid of him. They didn't want to lose him. So, but they were aggressive enough. They gave up enough gam. So I think it works out.
No, it works out for sure. Let's take a look at the lineup that started the game on Saturday. Put on the glasses here. Old age sucks. All right. Sirois with a back line of Camacho, Waterman to his right, and Campbell to his left. The 2 6s were Wanyama and Saliba. Corbo played right wing back.
Yep.
Because, of course, Choinière is out with an injury. Lassiter played left wing back, and Duke played in behind Ibrahim and Toy. A 3-4-1-2 formation for Hernan Losada's side. Your subs, of course, James Pantemis was your second keeper, and Thorkelson, Piet, Hamdi, Miljevic, Quizera, Jabang, Ofer, and Vilsain. All right, okay. So a couple of things catch my attention right off the bat. Number one, Corbo goes from a center back position to a right wing back position. That's one thing that caught my attention. Two is, despite being the best player in last game for the only 20 plus minutes that he was on, Vilsain once again was not a starter in this game. Is there anything you want to add in terms of things that caught your attention with the starting 11?
Okay, so listen, the first thing I want to say about Vilsain is I'm happy that he's played for 2 straight games, Tony. This is a step in the right direction, okay?
Yes.
I want to see this kid more and more and more. I want him to get minutes. I want him to develop. That's awesome. You know, Corbo, he's a pro, Tony. They put him in that position. I thought he did okay, honestly.
Yeah, he did.
He hadn't played since he's been in Montreal. Put some balls in the box.
By the way, Jeremy, there's a big adjustment from left center back to right wing back. He did well.
Yes. He's a natural right-footed player, so it's not as bad as if he was going from center back to left wing back.
1,000%.
Yeah, so he did okay.
Habits,
honestly.
Right? When you're in a habit of playing one position, one side for a couple of weeks in a row, a month in a row, and then.
But I think Lozada knows that in Corbo, he has a guy that he can rely on. That he'll stay within his limits, but he'll get the job done.
Yeah,
Choinière
I'll add on Vilsain if I can before you get to Choinière. Can I? Because you said and you're right. He is, and it is positive, okay? And this week he came in at the 66th, I think. Let's bring in the subs. Let's bring up the subs just to make sure here. So he played in the 60. He came in at the 66th minute instead of the 71st minute the week before. So he came in 5 minutes earlier. It is positive. You're right. And by the way, you know what I've been saying about him, and personally, based on a gut feel more than anything else, I think, Jeremy, that slowly but surely, and sometimes things don't go as fast as you want them to, some people are starting to see the light. And I think some people are starting to see that, yes, they can do with him what they did with Kone. Maybe it'll be on a lesser degree, of course, than an 8 million euro transfer fee or whatever it was. I'll also say this. I liked Saliba's game on Saturday very much. Yeah. Now, you know as well as I do that I said since day one that I thought Saliba was the best player on that CF Montreal reserve team 1 year ago. But I thought they gave him too much too soon. They gave him the number 10 position, the first game of the season, ahead of so many others.
Yeah.
Today, they'll tell you that there were some injuries or whatever. There were, they gave him a little bit too much at the beginning. He got burned a little bit. They had to take one step back with him before taking 2 steps forward. And now we're starting to see, slowly but surely, he's getting more and more comfortable. And personally, after watching him play for years and years and years, I think he's an 8. Now, I know they play him as a 6 on that chart, but he does advance more than a Wanyama would. He does advance more than a Piet would. Mm-hmm. And he does like to carry the ball more than those players. And I think even though the chart may show you what it shows you, Jeremy, I think he's an 8.
I think he's an 8 also. I agree with that. I thought it was one of his better games. And you know what? It's all coming together the way that it's supposed to. He's probably going to go back to the bench when Choinière is ready to come in or Piet is ready to start, whatever it is, and that's all fine. That's all part of your first year in the league. You're going to miss some games. You're going to be on the bench for some games. You're going to be starting some games, and it's all part of the learning process. I don't have a problem with that. Now, Choinière was a game-time decision. They decided not to dress him. He had 3 workouts with the rest of the group before Saturday. I guess Lozada or Choinière, they spoke. He was not ready yet. I think he'll be in the lineup on Wednesday night. I think he'll be at least on the bench. We'll see what happens there. Lassi Lapalainen worked out this morning by himself.
Yeah.
I don't know when he's going to come back. We don't have any information on that either. Unfortunately, Piet was not able to get into this game. They were down by a goal. It wasn't really the ideal situation for him to come in at that moment. But listen, I spoke with Lozada this morning about, what's the problem with the offense here.
How's he doing, by the way? How's he doing?
Listen, I think he's realistic about the fact that they got a young group. They got the smallest payroll in the MLS, and there's going to be growing pains. You can't expect miracles from a team that has a $10 million payroll. Now, the thing is, Tony.
He didn't ask about me, Lozada, though. He didn't ask about me. No.
He didn't ask about you,
No.
Tony. He didn't ask about you. But listen, they've been shut out 11 times this year in 21 games. More than half of the games they've played, they've been shut out. It's been extremely painful trying to build anything on offense.
It doesn't matter if the strikers score or not, Jeremy. What's important is that they all run back to help the midfield. That's important.
Listen,
It doesn't matter. Goals. It's the goals.
Listen, if you look at the expected goals column, and I know a lot of people are not big fans of that new statistic, but it is there. They've been under 1 expected goal per game in the last 3 games where they have been shut out. They got to find a way to create more offense. They just got to find a way. It's not working out right now. They got to get creative. They got to try different players. They got to try different formations.
Okay.
But listen, I want to take 1 second to tip my cap off.
Me too. Tip your cat. I thought you were going to tip your cat.
I want to tip my cap to soccer fans in this city. It was a 3rd sellout this season on Saturday night. This team has not been putting anything interesting to look at on the field, and people are packing the stadium. So I want to tip my cap off to them. They're there. They're supporting their team.
The fans are doing
behind
their part,
team.
Jeremy.
The fans are doing their part. They're filling up the stadium, despite what we just mentioned, and that needs to be mentioned.
Look, Jeremy, after the game, somebody tweeted to me. He says, Tony, I tweeted 102 minutes. Let's bring up the final statistics if we can, okay? The final stats at the end of the game. So look at this, okay? You talked about the 0.79 expected goals, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Shots on goal, Jeremy.
Yeah.
1 shot on goal.
1 shot.
The game went 102 minutes. So after the game, I tweeted 102 minutes, 1 shot on goal. 1. So somebody got back to me and said, are you going to podcast? And I said, live. And I said, podcast live about what? To talk about the 1 shot on goal. It was not the most entertaining game in the world. Let's put the cards on the table here.
Listen, Tony, there have been a lot of games this year. There have been a lot of games this year. I would say, quick. 2/3 of the games this year, not much to see.
So
that's it.
So somebody got back to me and said, no. Well, you can talk about the fact that they need to spend money to go get a DP and this and that and whatever, or why aren't they spending money to go get a DP and this and that. So, and I didn't answer, okay? But I'm going to give you an answer now. And I want everyone to hear me out, okay? There's no urgency to sign a DP. Jeremy just told you the 3rd consecutive game at home, that's a sellout. If I'm an owner...
No, it's not consecutive. 3rd sellout this year.
3rd sellout, pardon me. 3rd sellout, yes, you're right. But it was a sellout on Saturday night. If I'm the owner, there's no urgency here to go out and get a DP. I'm selling out. I've had 3 sellouts, right? So, and by the way, I'm not telling you to stay home. I'm happy the stadium is full. Believe you me when I tell you, I'm happy the stadium is full. In my world, the stadium would be full even for a practice. The stadium would be full all the time. This is what I want to see, right? We talk sports, and there's going to continue to be work for us. as long as all our teams are here and all our teams are healthy. Okay. So we want people there. But once again, there's no urgency. All right. So now I want to get back to that said, I want to get back to a few things we were talking about. I said something about Saliba before, and I'm going to take it a step further now and hear me out. I'm not going to tell you tonight on the podcast that Saliba is a better player than Choinière because
he's an all-star.
Because Choinière is older and has more experience.
Of course.
Okay. But I will tell you that Saliba has more tools than Choinière. I see it already.
Yeah.
He's got more tools. And I'm going to tell you that he has a higher ceiling than Choinière. He's got a higher ceiling.
Fine, but they're
now,
not.
They will.
No,
no. They will be able. Did we lose Jeremy? We got him. They will be able to sell Saliba at one point. I don't know at how much, but slowly but surely his value is going up by playing some minutes. And you're right. At one point, he might end up losing a spot. But what's going to happen is that he'll get into the line. He'll be subbing on earlier rather than later. And hopefully this continues for Vilsain, who once again, a week ago subbed on at the 71st and 1 week later subbed on at the 66th. But I will say this, even though it's positive that he subbed on 5 minutes earlier, I really thought he deserved the start on Saturday. And, you know, Saliba, even though he didn't always have a good game at the beginning of the season, and you know, because I told you this off air a lot, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I see tools in this player. I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel with Sanusi Ibrahim, man. I really don't. And so Ofer, he is who he is. He's big. He's strong. He protects the ball well. He plays back to net. He's good in link up. He's good in aerial play. He can head the ball home for some goals. And he creates space for other players by drawing attention to him and making room for other players.
That's all good. But all of that.
But Sanusi does what?
Listen, all of that is good, but on the scoreboard, you got to score goals, Tony. Our best scorer has 3 goals.
But at the same time, who gets them the ball? Who gets them the ball? You don't, Jeremy. They have no. They don't. For me, Jeremy, the bigger problem is the playing identity. Jeremy, when they were coached under Wilfred Nancy and they played a ball possession game, okay. And by the way, CF Montreal this year, I'm not so sure if you're aware of this stat, but I think they've had more ball possession than the opposition 6 or 7 times this season, and they lost every single game. They had more ball possession because this is not their game under Losada. Do you understand? It's not in their comfort zone to play this kind of game. There actually should be, under Losada, they should be a defending counter kind of team. But when you impose your style, there's certain automations that kick in. There's certain things that happen on the field. They don't have a style, Jeremy. They punt a lot. They punt once, twice, 5, 10, 15, hoping that a header here, a rebound there, a this, that.
Yeah.
They can't
There's
feather.
Not much construction. There's not much construction.
No.
After 2 or 3 passes, they usually lose the ball or give it away. That's the reality. You know, I want to talk about a couple of other things. I was very surprised to see the coach withdraw Lassiter at halftime. I suspected that he was injured because Lassiter has been one of the guys that has generated offense on this team. There was a sequence of 3 or 4 or 5 games where it was either him scoring or him setting up the goal.
He didn't look good on Saturday, though, Jeremy.
I understand, Tony. I understand. But you got to win and lose with your best players. I mean, I got nothing against Quizera, but listen, Lassiter
he's not Lassiter.
No, he's not Lassiter. And I thought he was injured. And today I was surprised to see that he was there with the group training. So there was no injury. Clearly, Lozada was not happy with his game. I don't know if something happened in the locker room at halftime. Did they speak? Did he not like what he heard from him? I have no idea. But this is worrisome for me. Anyways, we could talk about that.
No, but can we get back to Sanusi Ibrahim for a second? That had a ball that got behind the defender in the first half. He's going down the left wing, Jeremy. Do you remember this play? Jeremy's got the ball on his left foot. He's beat the defender now. The ball goes in behind the defender. Jeremy, he's kicking the ball that's on his left foot with his right toe. Now, I know that there are a lot of players, offensive players, that like to use the outside
of the foot
to actually place the ball into the far corner, because it's kind of like a bang play. When you use it, you actually get rid of the ball faster than maybe shooting a ball with your second foot. But I couldn't believe he looked like he was handcuffed and he's kicking the ball with his right toe on the left side. I thought it was poor. I thought it was very, very poor. But Jeremy, they weren't able to thread needles. They're unable to spring forwards through. And for me, we could talk about the strikers, Jeremy, and I know we like to, have fun every now and then, and we could talk about the fact that they've been shut out 11 games. Yeah. But Jeremy, for me, the bigger problem is that I don't see an identity. I don't see players who are going to get much better as footballers in the system, with the exception of players that'll just get better because they're actually playing minutes. That will happen, but they're not going to be able to express themselves a lot. And I don't see any creativity. I don't see high danger scoring chances. It's not overly entertaining. It's very old fashioned brand of football. It's, and this is somebody who worked for Apple TV. I mean, about 2 months ago, remember early on in the season, called it the Guzman? I think
said what?
TSN called it anti-football.
Yeah.
He called it I think it was the Guzman who called it anti-football, I think.
Listen. The club right now is still riding, and the reason why we talked about the stadium is full. I think they're still riding on the fact that a lot of people enjoyed the games last year and are coming back. But it's not going to take time for people to realize that there's not much entertainment value there. So they need to do something now. Like, let's hope this trade for Opoku brings us a little bit of a flash, something in front. Because something needs to happen. That's for sure.
The tickets are affordable, and on a Saturday night in the summer to be, open air like that, 27, 28 degrees. It's a nice place to go.
No, it is. But Tony, it's got to become a place where people are not just going, as you mentioned, on a Saturday night to have a cold beer because it's sunny and it's nice. People have to care. They got to watch the game and care. Who's playing? Who's not playing? Why? How can we get better? We're not there yet. It's we go to the stadium and it's like, if they win, great. If they lose, what are you going to do? That happens, right? But just to get back to what's happening on the field, they invested a lot of money in Matko Milovic. They had hopes for him. When I went to camp this year, they told us that this guy was in great shape, that this guy was ready to take that spot. He gets in the last 10 minutes. I don't know what's happening in the training sessions. I know that he had a couple of hiccups with some of his teammates and stuff like that. Is he frustrated because he's not playing, or is he just a player that doesn't have necessarily the right attitude? But what I'm saying is, this is the guy you told us at the beginning of the year was your creative midfielder.
Yeah,
I want to see him more if he's going to stick around. Otherwise, get rid of him,
Jeremy. I don't want to make any excuses for him. Okay, because whatever. I mean, I don't know the guy. Yeah. I mean, I never had lunch with him, so I don't want to make any excuses for him. But I will say this though. Jeremy, it's hard when you suffer an injury like the one that he suffered in training camp. And now you're going to say, yeah, okay, Tony, I understand, but he's been back for over a month. Okay, I get it.
It's been a while now. And it was arthroscopic, right? I mean, it's not as if it was like a ligament tear.
No, I understand. Look, I'm not going to make any excuses for him. At the end of the day, he has not delivered, okay? Yeah. He has not delivered, and he's not based on what we hear, he's not easy to play with.
Yeah.
Okay? He's not easy to practice with. And he's not winning the Teammate of the Year award either.
Yeah. And last year he was in Wilfred Nancy's doghouse, and we all thought this year with Lozada coming in, two Argentinians, they'll be on the same page. He'll get his chance. And again, he has not been able to convince the coach to give him enough to give him starts. But like I said, Tony, at the same time I don't think they have the luxury at this moment to not try every possible opportunity. You understand? To not try every possible solution. Maybe they want to play with 2 10s on Wednesday and play with one striker. I don't know. But you got to try something different. You got to try every possible combination until you find something. Because in these last 3 games, offensively speaking, it's been pretty much more or less the same guys, and nothing's happening. Nothing is clicking. And now, on Wednesday night, you're going into Chicago, and you're going to face Kai Kamara. You're going to face Kai Kamara, right? Who, this guy is going to put everything on the board in this dressing room and say, guys, I want this game. I want it bad. I don't know if he's going to start or he's going to come in as a sub. I spoke to Hernan Lozada this morning. I said, what do you guys got to do to make sure, he doesn't punish you guys? Because you know Kai Kamara is going to want to score 1, 2, 3 goals on Wednesday night. He's going to do everything to make them look bad because it ended so badly between him.
His chances. Listen, his chance. I mean, he can score either way, but they're going to have to be very aware of the aerial game. They're going to put the ball up high for him. And by the way, so it's the goal they concede is an Almada free kick, and then it goes off the bar and off the post, and the rebound comes out, and Lennon's able to bury it home. But I'm going to tell you this: Sirois again. Sirois is really good, eh? No, but he's not good. He's really good.
You know what?
And he's been the best player on the team, man.
He is. I think right now he's the MVP of this team. And you know what, Tony? You know what's sad about this 3-game stretch where you only picked up 1 point? If you score 1 goal per game with what Sirois gave you and the defense, I got to add to that, you pick up a win in Charlotte, you pick up and 2 draws. You have a win and 2 draws if you just score 1 goal. 1 goal. So, I mean, Sirois is keeping you in the games. He's giving you everything you need to pick up points, and you're not able to do it. It's
Jeremy,
and you know what? On the field on Saturday night, Tony, for the first time, I started seeing a lot of frustration. I started seeing players pointing fingers, players screaming at each other. I think guys are starting to, it's tough. It's tough mentally when you're not able to score at all.
Jeremy, we're probably in the minority around the league, but when that deal took place, Lassiter and Duke come into Montreal in return for Kamal Miller.
Yeah.
You liked the deal. I liked the deal. You said it was a spark for Montreal. I said it was a spark for Montreal. We talked about Miller would be able to be replaced, and besides, he wasn't happy here down the stretch. He wanted to be moved anyway. Corbo could come in and replace him, and he has. Yeah. We also said that they definitely needed a left wing back, a left winger, a forward like Lassiter, a guy with a left foot, because they didn't have too many on the team. We still continue to think that. Duke was a promising player, potential, and hopefully one day he could be a Mihailovic type of player for them. We still believe that. Nobody's really grabbed the bull by the horns, Jeremy, as a 10 and ran with it. And I'm going to say this, Jeremy, and I told you, and now everyone's going to say you're the president of the Ville Saint Fan Club. I am.
Yeah.
I told
I know where you're going.
At the beginning of the season that with the exception of Kyoto, I thought Ville Saint was the best forward on the team. And I maintained that even though he hardly plays. I told you that I think that in terms of wingers, if they would play with wingers and not wing backs, but wingers, I think he would be better than any winger on the team if Kyoto still stayed up top. Okay. I also told you I thought he could be better than any 8. And I also told you I thought he could be better than any 10. He didn't touch the ball a lot, Ville Saint, last game.
No.
But there's one moment where he got the ball in the midfield, and with his head up, he made a run, and he was looking for Mason Toye. But Mason Toye didn't give the run that he was supposed to give. And Mason Toye wasn't going where he should have been going because I saw Ville Saint was looking for him. When that gap closed and Toye wasn't making the run, Ville Saint made a pass down the left wing that the player had to run into the open space for it and go and get it. But it was the right play. Why am I bringing this up? The reason why I'm bringing it up is I saw tendencies there, and I saw what I used to see he looked like a 10, Jeremy.
I agree.
And I know that Patrice Bernier tweeted last week, hey, you know what? I'm seeing some tendencies as a 10 before this play. He tweeted it. And I'm taking a look at this play now, and I'm saying, guys, I've been telling you that I think he's the best 10 that they have. Go back and look at this play. It's it didn't lead to anything. I get it. Yeah. But it's one of the nicest plays that a player has made running through the midfield this season.
So, listen, I want to say a couple of things about that. I agree with you 100%. I like what I see from him at the position of number 10. Now, I also told you that when we spoke to him in Florida, when he first got signed, he explained to us that he was developed as a 10. It was a little bit surprising when you see his physique, but if the guy's played as a 10, basically his whole career, if I'm a coach, if I don't have a spot as a 10 because I got 1 or 2 guys that are dominating at that position, I say, guy, listen, I want to get you on the field. We don't have a place at number 10. But right now, as you mentioned, nobody's taking off with this position of a 10. I find he moves the ball with his head up. He's fluid. His passes are good. He has a great vision. And you know what they can do? if let's say, Tony, they tell us Leagues Cup, we probably don't have a chance to win. We don't think we have a chance to win, but we're going to use those games to test some of these guys. I will be fine with that. And if you say, listen, Gilles, you're going to be taking that position. We want to see you there. We want to see what you can do. And from those 2 games, you can gain a lot of information. So if you're deciding to not going out there to try to win the Leagues Cup, but you're going to use those games to experiment, I wouldn't have a problem with that. And I'd like to see him play that position to see what he can give us. Because as you mentioned, nobody's running away with it. And I see something there also, more as a 10 than as a striker. We don't have much to, in French, they say, à se mettre sous la dent right now.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see that. And I think that could be entertaining. And it could be valuable for the team also.
All right. Now, speaking
but as I mentioned, don't forget that Hernando Lozada, when he was asked the question about him possibly taking that position as a 10, he said, I don't see him there. It's unfortunate we don't have an MLS Next Pro team because they could probably give him some starts there and see really what he can do,
A lot of people didn't see Corbo as right wing back either, but he played well on Saturday.
I like Corbo, but Corbo's a pro, Tony. Honestly, I spoke to some people in Bologna, and I told them it's a mistake, you guys, letting this guy go because he's got a lot. I don't think Corbo's going to stay here very long, Tony.
No, I love Corbo. I like him. I like him very much. Yeah. I would take Corbo any day of the week on my team twice on Sundays.
I think it's going to be like Binks. I wouldn't even be surprised if he leaves at the end of the year, to tell you the truth. I hope not, because I really like him, but he's at another level.
All we're saying, and to the point of sounding, being redundant here, all we're saying is if Choinière, the coach, is open to playing him as 10, 7, 11, 8, 6, if he's open to playing Saliba as 10, 8, 6, if he's open to playing other players, and he's open to playing Lapanainen left wing, right wing, left wing back, right wing back, second forward, the same thing with Lassiter. Why does Vilsaint have to be a 9, only a 9, and just a 9, and off the bench?
I think because they're lacking information. I think they're lacking information. They're lacking concrete. They know what Saliba can bring. He's been with the organization. He was playing with the U23s last year. So they already know what they feel like he can and cannot do. Sean Rea has been part of this organization for a long time. Vilsaint's only been with the team for 5 months. So
Jeremy,
I think that's what it is. I can't see it. I don't have any other explanation.
Jeremy, he grew up here and he played soccer since he was 4. Yeah. This team started in MLS in 2012.
We know that they don't have eyes everywhere.
But you don't have eyes anywhere. If you don't have eyes in your own backyard, we got a problem.
Well, they don't. They don't have eyes everywhere.
But
don't. Bombito, did they have their eyes on him, or?
But they have a scout here. No, they have a head scout who's been with them since the beginning. No, they have a head scout here.
Yeah. They have scouts.
And they don't have information.
I don't think they. But listen, Tony, it's a different thing when you have information from when you're playing.
He's no longer the scout. By the way, they've changed their scout.
Okay, whatever. But you need to see guys play at the highest level and see what they can give. I don't think they want to sacrifice games right now to experiment, but the Leagues Cup could be perfect for that if they decide to do that. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Asterios Themelis, formerly of Palk Academy out of Laval, is the new chief scout of CF Montreal's academy.
I tell you one thing, Tony.
Yeah, and Simon Gaddy.
Kai Kamara better not score 2 on Wednesday night in Chicago.
And Simon Gaddy, who was that scout for the longest time, he's now working with the forwards, I believe, in finishing drills. Yeah, he's a former defender. I think he scored like 4 goals in his life at the pro level. He's working with the forwards, Jeremy, in the academy level. He's working with the forwards.
Did you check how much Kai Kamara is making in Chicago? What the deal is that they made over there?
No, enough to pay the rent or what?
$279.
$279?
$279 for 5 goals and a guy that's going to the All-Star game. Is that okay for you?
It's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a
good deal.
Good deal. I think it's a good deal.
It's a Matuchala with Kai Kamara though. But you're not going to get over this whole Kai Kamara thing.
Tony, listen, for me, when you put your ego in front of what's best for the team, I cannot forgive that. I cannot forgive that. And don't give me this bullshit about I can't let guys do what they want in the organization because it's going to destroy the dressing room. I'll tell you one thing.
I'm
The
not so
start
sure.
of that season and the players that were pissed off in that dressing room had a lot to do with that guy leaving.
Okay. Hold on a second, though. I kind of understand, Jeremy. I can't say I entirely agree with you. I can't say I entirely disagree, but I'm going to tell you something. Jeremy, he signed the contract, Jeremy.
I agree.
He had signed the contract, Jeremy. Do you understand? But if players sign a contract, Jeremy, look, I understand it's not looking good right now, and they can't score. And if he was on this team, chances are right now he would be the leading goal scorer on this team, okay? I understand all of that, Jeremy. Based on the stats, Jeremy, you're right. But based on principle, I'm going to, and basically organizational standards, I'm going to tell you this, Jeremy. Jeremy, he agreed to a contract with Olivier Renard under certain conditions and certain amounts, and the contract was for 2 years. Because he had a good first season, he's going to go to Olivier Renard and he's going to say, no, you got to give me more money. And you know why you want to give him more money? Because there were other players on the team, like the toys of the world, that were making 5 times more than him, right?
Yeah.
So he wanted more money. Okay. So, but if he gives him more money, then everyone that has a 2-year deal, Jeremy, after one good year, they're going to walk into the office. They're going to say, I want more money. You can't do that either, Jeremy.
How many of these guys are going into the record books of the history of the MLS that they're going to come up and ask for more money? Who? Where? If they come up to me and ask for money, say, are you going into the record books? You're going to break the all-time record for most goals scored in the league? No. So go back on the field. Please, Tony, you can't treat every player the same way. We're talking about a guy who's going to go to the MLS Hall of Fame, right? North Americans talk. Come on. And the guy's making $90,000. Who in that dressing room is going to go up to say, hey, I need a pay raise?
He's also a guy who's not known for much loyalty. Yeah, I think he's done nine MLS teams. I mean,
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Tony. But at the end of the day, everybody's got to put a little water in their wine, and you had to find a solution, and you didn't find it. And now we have Hernan Lozada telling us after every game that they need an offensive spark. I don't blame Lozada because Lozada, he inherited this situation. It's not his fault.
Jeremy, well, it is his fault. Jeremy, a bigger problem than the forwards not scoring goals is the way this team plays and the amount of balls the forwards actually get in dangerous scoring areas, Jeremy. This is on Lozada, Jeremy.
But
Lozada is on Lozada.
I think Lozada's telling them to do it, but they're not doing it. Why? I don't know.
Hey, what happened at the end of the game? The coaches, they got in each other's face. What happened? Did you get to the bottom? What happened?
Well, we asked the coach. He didn't want to talk about it. He said it was between them. But I think the team was upset about the officiating. I think Atlanta tried to.
You didn't call the coach. You didn't call the coach of Atlanta to find out.
No, but they thought that and again, like
if you would have called him and you would have wrote a story on it, he would have got a call.
I understand that the officials maybe didn't handle the things properly. I don't disagree with that, but they're not responsible for this loss. Let's say.
Well, no, I mean,
you want to talk about Team Canada or what?
Yes, 102 minutes of play. They had one shot on goal. It's not the referee's fault. Yeah, Mitzi, you want to go to bed at 6:45?
You know what kind of weekend I had in Vancouver? I almost didn't sleep at all. Thank you to Transat and Air Canada. Thank you very much for making my weekend a living hell. Thank God we had a good game in Vancouver.
I've always had excellent experiences with them.
Yes. Excellent.
Yes. So if I call you for a partnership going forward, please disregard everything Jeremy said because I've always had a great experience with them.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we've had 2 Air Transat flights in this family in the last month and a half. All right. Okay. So now Team Canada, last night, Gold Cup quarterfinal, a heartbreaking loss versus the U.S. men's national team, of course, because Jacob Schaffelberg put Canada up by a score. Hey, what a roller coaster of emotions in this game, eh? The United States scored late in the game.
89th minute.
And then
Victoria tied it up at the 91st.
Victoria ties it up a couple of minutes later because there was a handball, Jason Russell Rowe in the box, and there's a handball by a U.S. men's national team defender. They go to VAR, penalty kick. Vitória, who scored 5 goals on penalty kicks in Portugal's first division, playing for Chaves. He steps up and he goes, where he's playing for Chaves.
I didn't like that decision.
And before that, he played for, I should know this. Anyway, I should know this. Anyway, I forget.
Okay,
but
let's get back to the game.
Vitória goes up, takes the penalty shot.
Yeah.
In the middle of the net, down the middle.
Yeah.
And in the extra time, what a goal by Jacob Schaffelberg, eh?
Yeah, it was deflected, but still, you got to give him credit for going up there and taking shots. You take shots, good things happen, right? And he got the result that he wanted. We all thought that they were done, that they were going to win this game. Heartbreak at the very end, but Tony, I'm very happy to see that they were able to go toe to toe with USA. Did USA play a better game? Absolutely. 21 shots on net to 5, I think. But they held their own. Everybody said that they were going to get blown out of the water, and the quality on the field. Canada didn't have a Vasquez. They didn't have a Jesus Ferreira. They didn't have quality players like that, Georgi Mihailovic. And they still were able to stay in this game. They came a hair away from actually winning it. So I was disappointed with the way the whole tournament went, okay? But there's a lot of reasons they didn't have the training camp that they should have had, like the other teams. You had a bunch of players that had never played together. There was no chemistry there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I like the fight that they showed yesterday against USA. Unfortunately, we weren't able to beat them. But I think they proved yesterday that they belong in the top 3 in CONCACAF. And let's see what happens next time when they have most of their best players. So
always tough to lose a game on penalties. Always tough.
Of course.
And I feel Vitória goes down the middle of the 91st minute or 92nd minute, and then they get the penalty kicks, and he chooses to go down the middle again. And this time the goalie says, I'm not going to move, because chances are you're putting it down the middle. He's able to get a hand on it. And
exactly. I didn't like that decision, sending him out there when he had just scored on a PK. It happens so rarely that a guy can score twice in PKs during a game. I feel bad for Brim also, hitting the crossbar there on the very last shot attempt.
Jeremy, I don't mind the decision whatsoever. If it was a decision, hindsight is 2020. I'm going to say this: when it comes down to penalty kicks, it's not always about the coach putting out who he thinks should go. It's also about who wants to step up and say, I'm going to take it. Because a lot of players, they choose not to step up. Toto Schillaci, the best goal scorer of the 1990 World Cup, the best goal scorer. Italy plays Argentina in the semis in Naples, by the way, versus Maradona's Argentina. A game that Italy ends up losing on penalty kicks. And by the way, all the Neapolitans in the stands were actually cheering for Argentina instead of Italy. Italy viewed it as a road game instead of as a home game.
Yes.
And Azeglio Vicini looks over at Schillaci. Schillaci looks over at him and says, "No, I'm not taking it." But that's okay.
But you know what? You got to know, right? You got to know if you're the man of the situation or if you're not. And if you're not, you got to, I remember a couple of years back, Tony, Canadian Championship final. Who takes the PKs? I think it was Camacho that took one. I think it was Lovitz that took another one. I don't remember exactly, but it was the defenders, and they did a great job, and they looked like they were poised to take those shots. They converted them, and that's all good. I don't have a problem with that. It's okay. I understand why Vitória's taking it because of the experience he has on this team.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the fact that he was the first one up there, and I didn't like it. As soon as I saw him there, I was convinced he wasn't going to score, but whatever it is, it is. They showed a lot of fight, like I said.
Yeah.
They haven't won on American soil. Canada hasn't won on American soil against USA since 1957.
Yes.
Been a long time.
It's the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. And should CF Montreal lose on Wednesday night and Kai Kamara scores, Jeremy Filosa is going to be going solo with a 6-hour podcast the next day. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Go CF Montreal, go. And that's a great move by Olivier Renard to go and get Opoku from LAFC. Our eyes will be on him. We'll see how he does. And I think that's a situation that is going to pay dividends. For Jeremy Filosa of 98.5 FM and EMFC at Zio, I'm Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.